Alright, so today I'll be explaining what is the Wumpus World. It's an AI problem, and I'm Rajeev Patnaik Rayagada. So, why should you care and what even is the Wumpus problem? So basically, the Wumpus World problem demonstrates the value of knowledge-based agents and the interpretation of the knowledge we get and using the reasoning and planning to find and achieve the goal, which in this case is to get the gold and come back home, which is at 1, comma 1, without dying. And so basically, it's a 4 by 4 grid, as we can see, and each square can contain agents and objects. Agents as in you, the player, and objects as in gold and pits. So the goal is to find the goal and return to 1, comma 1 and climb out of the cave without dying. So we have to watch out for the Wumpus, which is the monster right here at 1, comma 3, along with the pits, both of which can lead to the player's death. This is the agent, this is the Wumpus, these are the pits. Right, so now we're going to go for the PEAS measurement, where P is the performance measure, E is the environment, A is the actuators, and S stands for sensors. Performance measure. We get 1,000 points to climb out of the cave with the goal, which is the goal of the game. We lose 1,000 points by death if we are killed by the Wumpus or fall into the pit. We lose 1 point per action, so the goal is to finish the maze with the least amount of actions as possible. We lose 10 points for using up the arrow without killing the Wumpus. Usually in this game, the player or agent is given one arrow, and there is one Wumpus in the game. So if we kill the Wumpus, we gain 10 points. But if we miss, that is, use the arrow and you miss the Wumpus, you will lose 10 points for that. So you have one arrow, you lose nothing if you don't kill the Wumpus and you don't use the arrow. If you use the arrow and you kill the Wumpus, 10 points. If you use the arrow and it's wasted and it doesn't kill the Wumpus, you lose 10 points. Now for the environment. So the player, which is the agent, always starts at 1, comma 1, facing right. The locations of gold and Wumpus are chosen randomly. So this gold could be anywhere except for 1, comma 1, and the pits could be anywhere except for 1, comma 1, because you can't just spawn into a pit. That would be pretty bad. So each square other than the start can be a pit, with a probability of 0.2, meaning each of these squares except for 1, comma 1 has a 1/5 chance of being a pit. Now for the actuators. So the movement actions are obviously going to be right, left, up, down, using the arrows, or WASD. Depends on the game. Some of them use that as well. Now you click enter to capture the gold, and space to kill the Wumpus, that is, shoot the arrow. Now the thing is, as I mentioned before, you have only one arrow and there's only one Wumpus. And killing the Wumpus gives you 10 points, not killing it loses those 10 points, and not using the arrow itself will get you nothing. So, now the grab action is used to pick up the gold. How do you know when you're at the gold? Well, see, the gold glitters, we'll get to that soon. And shoot action, as I mentioned, fires the arrow in a straight line. Now, how do we know where it fires? Well, you use the arrows to point to the direction where it shoots. Suppose you're at like 1, comma 1 and you just shoot immediately. Since you're at the beginning and you're facing the right, what's going to happen is if you're lucky and the Wumpus is right next to you, it will kill it, you get 10 points. If not, which is more likely, it's going to continue until it hits the wall at 4, comma 1. And after that, you just lose 10 points because you didn't kill a Wumpus. Next, climb. Climb is used to leave the cave. It's only effective when the agent is at the start square after acquiring the gold. So you're at 1, comma 1. Can you climb? No. First you need to get the gold, come back to 1, comma 1, and then climb. That's how you basically exit the game and win. Now the agent dies if he enters a space containing a pit or a live Wumpus. So you enter these pits, or you go to the square with the Wumpus in it. So 1, comma 3, you die. Note that if you kill the Wumpus, what's going to happen is it's going to show that it's smelly. The stench. We'll get to that in a moment. And you can go into that square after killing the Wumpus. And if you did kill it, you get 10 points. Good for you. Next, we've got the sensors. So stench is perceived by the agent in the square of the Wumpus, along with 4 squares directly adjacent, but not diagonal to it. So the Wumpus here, it's not actually shown here, but the stench is going to be in this box as well. So You've got stench because the Wumpus is here, adjacent only. So the adjacent boxes to the Wumpus, which is in 1 comma 3, is 1 comma 4, 2 comma 3, 1 comma 2, along with 1 comma 3. Now obviously minus 1 comma 3 doesn't exist, but if it were anywhere else, that's where it would be. Note that the diagonals do not have the stench. Breeze is perceived by the agent in the squares, directly adjacent to the pit. So it's basically the same thing as with the Wumpus, except that the square itself does not have breeze, unlike the Wumpus, where the square itself also has the stench once you kill it. So you've got a pit here, it needs breeze above it, below it, where in this case it's out of the map, but here below it works, next to it, which is on the right side and the left side. So same goes here. This is one perfect example. You've got a pit. It doesn't have breeze in it because you can't kill the pit. So you've got breeze below it. So in 3 column, one below it, one above it, one to the right, and one to the left. Next, we've got glitter. Glitter is perceived by the agent in the square containing the gold alone. So we've got gold. You can only find this glitter in this particular square, which happens to be 2 comma 3. Next, bump. What is bump? Whenever the agent tries to walk out of the labyrinth, that is, walks into the wall, you receive a bump. So in this case, you're the agent. You try to come out. So you're at, suppose, 1 comma 1, and you try to go to the left or down. Then you receive a bump and stay there. It's a waste of a move, basically. Now, a scream is perceived when the agent kills the Wumpus. So suppose the agent is here, you turn upwards, shoot the arrow, or you go to 2 comma 3, turn left and shoot the arrow, or 1 comma 4, turn down and shoot the arrow. These are the only 3 cases where you can kill the Wumpus. Or perhaps from 1 comma 1, you look straight up and kill the Wumpus by shooting the arrow, which would be with blind luck. Alright, now for the knowledge-based environment exploration. How do we go about this? For this, we have to create our own code. So A is for agent, B is for breeze, G is for glitter or gold, OK is the safe square, P is the pit, S stands for stench, V stands for visited, and W stands for wumpus. This is just an example. It's not the one we'll be using for the next, but this is how it is. To make it more interesting and easier to understand, I've added little emojis. So, at 1 comma 1, which is where we always start, we have the agent facing towards the right. So, this little guy is the agent. And the first thing we have to notice is, do we feel any breeze or do we feel any stench? In this case, we do not. So from this, we can confirm that the box to the left and above it are free of pits and of wumpuses. So after this, we mark 1 comma 1 as visited and go to 2 comma 1. Once we go to 2 comma 1, we feel a breeze, as mentioned here. So what does it mean? If there's a breeze, it means that there is a pit nearby. So in this case, remember, pits can release a breeze, one below, one to the right, or to the left, or above it. So there could be a pit above, below, to the right, or to the left. Now we've already seen that it cannot be to the left because that's where we started. There's no pit there. It cannot be below it because that's out of the map. So that leaves only 2 places possible for the pit to be, namely above it and to the right of it. So 2 comma 2 and 3 comma 1 are the possibilities that there's a pit. Now, once we have realized that, we go to 1 comma 2. So why do we go to 1 comma 2? The reason is we've already been to 1 comma 1, so we don't need to go there. We cannot go below because that's out of the map. We cannot go to 3 comma 1 or 2 comma 2 because there's a 50-50 chance of it being a pit. We want to survive, so we go back, leaving 1 comma 2 as our only option. Now once we come to 1 comma 2, first thing we notice is that there's a stench. Next thing we notice is there is a lack of a breeze. Now what does a lack of a breeze mean to us? It means there is no pit above us, below us, to the right of us, and to the left of us. Now leaving the one below us, because that's where we started, to the left of us because that's out of the map, this tells us that there is no pit above us and no pit to the right of us. Now, if you go before, we notice there's a possibility of the pit being above us or to the right of us. In this case, we have proven that the pit is not to the right of us over here. This proves that it is not over here, which means there's a 100% chance that the pit is over here. Thus, it becomes a proper um, pit. We know exactly where it is. Now, we know that these four squares are okay, but because of this stench, we know that the Wumpus is here, for sure. Now, after this, we go from 1 comma 2 to 2 comma 2 to 2 comma 3. We already know that 2 comma 2 is okay, so I didn't really go through that. It's simple. So after 2 comma 2, we go to 2 comma 3. So what do we notice at 2 comma 3? Well, at 2 comma 3, we notice the stench again. Now, since we've noticed the stench at 1 comma 2 and 2 comma 3, the only chance for it to be a wumpus is at 1 comma 3, because we know that at 2 comma 2 it is alright. So now that we know where the wumpus is, what else do we know? We feel that there's G. G stands for glitter or gold, meaning we have found the gold and we can go back now. We also feel a breeze, meaning as seen before, this is identical to the case here. We felt a breeze, so we know for sure there's one above it or to the next, to the right. Same goes here. It's above it or to the right. It cannot be below it. It cannot be to the left, because then you'd have a wumpus in a pit. So that would be pretty simple. Funny. Anyways, so now that we have the gold, we can go home, which is at 1 comma 1, and climb out to win the game. If you want, now that we know that the Wumpus is here, you can turn to the left and shoot your arrow. You will get 10 points for killing the Wumpus successfully. Now, how do we go back home to 1 comma 1? You can either go from 2 comma 3 to 2 comma 2, followed by 2 comma 1, followed by 1 comma 1, or 2 comma 3, 2 comma 2, 1 comma 2, 1 comma 1. It really doesn't matter, it's the same length. So yeah, that's how you beat the game. Hope you enjoyed, and have any questions, be sure to comment.